What's up, fanboys and fangirls? Welcome to another episode of A Review to a Kill, coming to you from fanboysanonymous.com. It is our From Recap with Love spin-off, subsection, subdivision, whatever you want to call it, of A Review to a Kill, where we are breaking down the tier lists and the Mount Rushmores of the James Bond franchise. I am Tony Mango. I've got with me Robert DeFelice.
That never happened to the other guy.
And Callum Wiggins, the other guy.
He doesn't know any of the opening sequences. I was able to come up with that one quick.
Just
yeah. Well, it's just that's what I've got at the moment. I was thinking like maybe something like Interior, Fanboys Anonymous, to try and like get an idea of like the,
like an opening
direction.
Sequence. Like if you're writing.
Like direction. Like we're setting the scene for our own opening sequence, but we don't have any like
gun barrel. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we don't have explosions, helicopters going all over the place. It's just like Oz is very low budget.
I thought you were going to say we don't have a gun barrel. I was going to say, so we're Quantum of Solace and Skyfall.
Well, there you go.
Or the pointy one on Casino Royale. That's what we're talking about on this edition. We are breaking down the opening sequences for the films. So that includes from what should have been the gun barrel in most of them through the point where you get to the theme song. It doesn't include the actual theme song itself. It's just the sequence before that, hence opening sequence. So it's a little bit confusing when we get to Dr. No, but very quickly when it comes to something like The Spy Who Loved Me, it's the sequence with the parachute. For Moonraker, it's jumping out of the airplane, that kind of deal. So we're going to do what we normally do here by breaking down our different tier lists and given the Mount Rushmore, which is, the four that really like exemplify what the opening sequences of the Bond franchise are all about. We invite you to leave your comments below. Tell us your thoughts on what your preferences would be and where you would place things on this timeline. Timeline's not the right word. On this list. So, do the usual thing. Like, share, favorite, follow, subscribe, ring the notification bell, hit the applause button, hit the Patreon up with your donations, and take advantage of the bonus features and pick a poison tier. Do the join button over on YouTube for the members-only content, which I'm still trying to figure out exactly what members-only content we will get going for at least A Review to a Kill. It might include playing GoldenEye if I can set it all up. It might include maybe some of the other fan tracks kind of content. I don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know. But we are going to get things started here. Let me switch my thing over so that you can see our screen. And currently this is our list for what we have for ranking them in order of, specifics like, this is obviously my list because this is Tony. That's Rob's list because this is Rob. Those are our names. Callum has not gone through and done that, but that's perfectly okay because we're not ranking them in this kind of fashion. We're doing the tier list idea. So that is what this list is going to be all about. And I'm probably going to go back and forth between these two just to remind myself where I have going on for this kind of thing. As far as like I have GoldenEye all the way at the top and Dr. No all the way at the bottom. But let's just kind of toss it out there. We have S through F, of course, being the worst, S being the best. Mount Rushmore we'll take care of after we're done with all this. Is there any stand out to you guys as you need to place it somewhere on there guaranteed?
F for Dr. No, just because if I didn't know what I was watching, and at the time, quite frankly, I did not, I wouldn't know. Oh, this is a James Bond film because it's just Dr. No and three blind mice. I wouldn't know what I'm watching.
I would go so far as to say potentially F tier for Dr. No as well, because it doesn't really have an opening sequence. The three blind mice thing doesn't really count because it happens, like the theme is the opening sequence, and the theme itself, as much as the Bond theme is great, of course it's classic. I don't dig the whole like just showing you a bunch of lights bouncing around and then transitioning to two other songs that are crap. So if that's their whole idea of that, I would assume that means F tier. Callum, you want to make an argument against it, or is this 3 votes for F tier?
3 votes. Go ahead.
I don't know, because like realistically, from what you guys have described, it should be F tier, but I just don't know whether it even counts on this list at all. Then,
Right.
because it doesn't have an opening sequence. So can we really put it in F tier when it doesn't have an opening sequence? They hadn't decided on that style of approach yet.
We sure can.
It just kind of feels like an aberration.
To me, if you're going to place it anywhere, you're going to place it F tier, because there's nothing positive for it that puts it higher. So it's like an F tier with an asterisk kind of thing.
Or if we were to assign it a opening sequence, or like, I guess a more traditional version of what we know of the Bond opening sequence, what would that be in that movie's context?
It would be more so the three blind mice shoot the one guy.
See, that guy dying was pretty funny. Like he oversold the gunshots. Everyone's like saying "quick, get away, quick," all that stuff. Just driving in the car out of the way.
Like
that was fun.
I'd rank it extremely, extremely, extremely low, and it's not even like memorable to me as the W6N, that kind of thing and stuff, with a weird jump shot and jump cut. I'm going F tier. It's
That's fine. I'm not going to argue it.
Now, we could bounce around here. We could go, movies separately here and there. Like, I've got GoldenEye up at the, very top of the list and whatever. But in the meantime, the first one that really actually happens is From Russia with Love. And that one is for, I'm going to recap everything for everybody just to give them, a quick thing. But From Russia with Love's opening sequence was the training grounds where Red Grant kills Bond. So we get the whole, James Bond just got strangled, and then the guy ends up being not James Bond because he's just wearing a Sean Connery mask, which I think is a fantastic way to start off the movie, because it makes you think, oh my god, they just killed James Bond and they hadn't gotten into the trope yet. So I'd go at least A tier for that one.
I'd say so. I like From Russia with Love.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think it's an interesting way to do it. The way that, I don't know, the most interesting thing about me is that Bond is so inept in that opening sequence, because obviously it's obviously not the real Bond, it's somebody who's got a face mask on, but it's so obvious when you watch it that like that can't be Bond.
Yeah, if you know it, like, something's off.
Yeah. Even though you've only seen one movie of Bond at this point, it's such a departure from type, where he's so erratic and he's already immediately firing his gun and stuff like that. It's just, to be honest, that's more akin to a Craig style Bond, but it's not how Sean Connery's one operated in the first movie.
I'd potentially go S tier, but I think I'd put it in A. Could always bump it up.
Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
Goldfinger, we get a very traditional one as well. Although this one takes a little bit of a departure on top of that. It's a completely unrelated mission to the rest of the movie, which they don't do all the time. Sometimes they make sure that it specifically goes into, sometimes it's like, the driving force of the whole plot, like, Skyfall, for instance. But with Goldfinger, Bond's got this weird bird on his head costume. He blows up the drug facility and takes out Bonitas in the tub. The guy gets electrocuted. He does the shocking, positively shocking. He takes off the wetsuit and he's got the white tuxedo underneath. That's another fantastic opening sequence, and that's one of the reasons that Goldfinger is so iconic. I mean, you put Daniel Craig in the white suit and people go, oh, it's the suit from Goldfinger. And it's like, well, that's the suit from the part in Goldfinger that's the beginning of the movie that's unrelated to the rest of it, and people still stick with that. So I'd go A tier for Goldfinger, if not potentially S tier for that one too.
I'd say A tier at least, but we can always shuffle it around.
I think it's definitely very good. I just, part of me wants to put it in B tier because it doesn't relate to the rest of the movie. And
that's going to be a part of the ranking too, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate the later films that do kind of mix the two together a bit more.
Me too.
It kind of sets the scene a bit more. So that's an issue that I have with the Goldfinger one.
that's where I'll say is one of the reasons why I really don't like the one from Thunderball. Thunderball has Mademoiselle Laporte, and they are at the funeral. It's got the JB thing, so it makes you think that they've killed James Bond, and then he's right there, and he fights with the guy who's in drag, dressed up as this mourning woman, and then you get like the fight sequence is edited very weird. It's all choppy, and he just hops into this jetpack, flies from a building to the street. They get inside of a car, and it sprays water. I don't like it. To me, that jetpack thing is just more lame than it is super cool and oh my god, I want to be James Bond when I grow up kind of thing. I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah, I remember finding that like hilarious and a lot of fun, that opening sequence. I just thought the fighting was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but it was pretty okay. I just loved the jetpack. I thought it was the right level of absurdity for this, and the car with the spray behind it. I just thought, yeah, it's absurd, but I found that more fun than the GoldenEye one. I was more in the mood to watch the movie after watching that than I was after the GoldenEye one, the Goldfinger one, should I say, not GoldenEye.
I'd go E tier for Thunderball. I'm very low on that.
I'd say at least B.
I put it in D.
You had said what? B or D, Callum?
At least B.
So you got a B, a D, and an E.
So C.
I think that might balance out more to a D because of the E. Because I'd even potentially put it in an F. I really don't like Thunderball's intro.
I'd potentially put it in A though. So.
Oh, let's see where we put some other ones. I'll put it in D for now. We could potentially, if there's an argument, to put it in C or so. You Only Live Twice. Bond gets killed again. He is in bed, and Ling gets the drop on him, twitches that button, the bed springs backward, a bunch of people come in, shoot Bond up, and then the police come. Oh, at least he died doing what he loved, kind of a thing. That does tie into the movie slightly because they do continue that thread of Bond's faked his death and everything. I like it better than Thunderball. I don't think it's one of the most well executed out of the bunch. So to me, that's a C or a D tier one, more so D, because I think that Thunderball's more of an E.
Well, aren't we missing the fact of the opening of You Only Live Twice is that space setup?
No, that happens afterward.
Does it happen afterwards?
Yeah, I think that's after the titles.
I kind of have it. I have it listed in my notes as like the opening, the visuals for the opening in space are hilarious. So I thought that was beforehand, but yeah, it's nothing amazing. The idea of him being killed by being killed by a group of people after sleeping with some random girl, not the most like. Again, they've done the thing that we've already seen of Bond potentially being killed beforehand as well, so it's nothing particularly original. So yeah, I'd put it around about that range, maybe D.
Rob, what are you feeling?
I'd say D. D sounds right.
Alrighty, we'll go D. On Majesty's Secret Service.
I'm watching the pre-credit sequence now, and there's a fucking satellite in space.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
Maybe they do incorporate that with that on top of it. I'm blanking on that being in that spot.
It's the guy who's now caught outside the spaceship with the thing swallowing it up, and his cord getting cut loose and being just launched into space.
Because they go from Ling over to and the whole thing with Bond being killed over to the credits.
Yeah, they do.
So maybe they just do both.
You have all this, and then you have the discussion between the USSR and the UK and the Americans about what happened in that incident, and then it cuts to Bond making out with Ling.
Okay, so then if they do both, Yeah,
I was
and
going to say, like,
totally
the Bond
blanking
kill
on that
thing.
part.
Yeah, because like, I was going to say, like, that can't be the only bit in the opening sequence because Bond gets killed in like a minute.
I'd
It's
bump
like-
that up to C then.
I know that makes it worse for me because it's like that the visuals in that opening sequence are terrible.
I think they're hilarious though.
They are hilarious, but like so's the Thunderball stuff, but you want that low. So it's like I'm saying keep it in D.
Judgment call, C or D?
I'll say C.
I'll put that there for now. Secret Service. This is the introduction of Lazenby. It's Bond driving around. You've got the introduction of Tracy without any information of who she is, what she's doing, what's going on with the beach. Bond goes after her. He fights with a couple guys. That scuffles, kind of one of those weirdly edited things. And he saves her from drowning herself. And he does that whole typical, not typical, but he does the line of, oh, it's never happened to the other fella. I am not at all a fan of it because I hate that line and more than anything else. I think that the way that they film it's kind of strange. I don't like the action sequence all that much. I don't think it's particularly great. So this is low for me, especially compared to some of the other things. But I wouldn't go so low as to say that it's like F tier or something like that. It's not that bad. It's just this is more of a D kind of tier to me too. At the most it's a C, but I lean more towards D.
I will not go any lower than a B.
Yeah, no, I won't go any lower than that either.
2 votes for B then. You guys outrank.
Well, no, I'd say I wouldn't go any lower.
I said I wouldn't go
I'd
lower.
Yeah, I'm saying that it might be an A. Because
it's a good opening sequence, and it actually has a lot to do with the movie. It's really good.
Yeah, you get the introduction of Tracy. I'm a big fan of the fight scene. I think it's very athletic, considering this is a new Bond approach.
Yeah, and this is way more athletic than Connery would do. Yes, there's a lot of Kevin Dunn's doing the camera work here. There's a lot of camera cuts, but I think it's really good, and it plays throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, in fact, they build up to the reveal of Lazenby, and I also I'm a fan of the line. I thought it was just a really nice little touch added at the end of it. So if it was my choice, I'd put it in A.
I can go A.
Boo. It's 2 votes. That's how this works. I'm like, this is fucking E tier. We got to agree, Diamonds Forever is garbage. We got the whole setup of, well, let's fuck over on Her Majesty's Secret Service and act like that doesn't exist because it starts with Japan, so it acts like it's coming from You Only Live Twice. We don't see Bond, and he's just kind of doing these weird punches to people. We do get to see some boobs with Ray. So that's, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, we get to see Bond returning to his forceful against women ways.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. But she's a villain, so I mean, you kind of get what you guilty by association with Blofeld of all people. And you ignore Blofeld having done anything with On Her Majesty's Secret Service with the whole the neck brace and everything, which will come back later. And you've got this mud bath bullshit. I hate it.
Blofeld.
Yeah, I'm down for putting anything. Most things associated with Diamonds Are Forever in F tier, so I'd be happy to do that here as well.
I would say D, but I understand.
I think I'd potentially I'd go F, but I think I could be swayed to go E on the sense of Diamonds Are Forever is so goddamn silly and stupid that if you go into it just expecting nonsense, that it's fun and stupid. But then again, there's way more interesting, fun, stupid parts of that movie. So I think F.
This is still the only one that I really watched the trailer for going into it, and that trailer let me know everything I needed to know. So I went with it with my guard all the way down.
I don't remember when I had seen the movie, what I was thinking going into it, but I know I hadn't seen trailers ahead of time because I had seen this way before YouTube was just available and everything.
When I saw them chuck Plenty O'Toole in the pool in the trailer, I lost it.
I didn't know there was a pool down there. I got it, brother. Live and Let Die is not the most dynamic one in the world, but I think it's kind of interesting. We meet our main villain and our main Bond girl. We've got this United Nations kind of meeting. Guy gets killed. We set up that a couple other people are getting killed too. We've got the opening with the New Orleans band, and they kill the guy and they put the coffin over him. We get the other person killed in San Monique is the name of it, if I remember it correctly, with the snake. So you get 3 MI6 agents killed, and killed in different ways, and the whole like ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da kind of thing is like fun. Can't say it's like an S tier type of thing by any means, but I'd go at least C.
B, maybe.
Maybe B.
I've got
maybe.
looking back on my notes, I've got four lines for this entire opening sequence, which is high pitched frequency into the UK representative at the UN's ear, killing him. Then there's a funeral passing through Louisiana, and a guy watching is stabbed and then stuffed in a coffin, and the funeral march becomes a party. And then there's some kind of voodoo witchcraft ceremoniously with an obviously plastic snake that it just touches a tied up man and kills him.
Yeah.
And then the fourth line I think sums it up is like, this is the most bizarre opening to a Bond movie yet. So so I'd go it's memorable.
B for bizarre.
But I don't think it's good, so I'd go C.
So you got to C.
I'm going B.
B.
I just lean towards C just because I don't think it's particularly, and like Bond's not involved in it at all. So like part of me just feels like it's a C because like again it's that fucking plastic snake, man. It's just like it's so bad.
I think I'd lean more towards C right now, but I could potentially bump it up depending on where it is, especially because like to me I think that's fun and it's better than You Only Live Twice to me, but then again we've got multiple levels of tiers as well, which we're not going to break down obviously because that's stupid. I do really like the one from The Man with the Golden Gun.
Let's talk some S tier stuff now. Come on.
That is, you got your introduction to The Man with the Golden Gun. You got your introduction to Andre Anders. You got your introduction to Knick Knack. You've got the guy from Diamonds Are Forever brought back. We got some lines that I always am like a big fan of. You know, Knick Knack. Anytime that Knick Knack's talking, of course, it's great. But like
half now,
you get the rest right there, like that kind of thing, and you get this weird circusy funhouse type of thing. You get to see what the Man with the Golden Gun's able to do, because without a gun and with only one shot in it, he's able to take down Rodney or whatever you want to call him. I am a huge fan of this. This one is potentially an S tier one for me. I don't think it's my favorite one, but if I go back to like my list, for instance, it's pretty high up. It's my number 7 out of the bunch.
I have it pretty low, but I don't know why, because I love this movie.
Yeah, you have it really low.
Yeah,
you have it
I
at 16.
No clue why. I love this movie, so if we're gonna put anything in S tier, it's got to be my favorite Moore film. So I'll go with S tier.
Yeah, I am happy with it being an S tier, even though the Bond himself isn't like specifically involved. It's a very, very good introduction to the guy who's going to be his counterpart for the entire movie. So yeah, I think it's an S one.
The best villain of the whole franchise. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, you said something better than him.
Yeah.
Well, that's different.
But then also, despite the fact that Roger Moore is not in it, Roger Moore is in it. He's got the statue, and that sets up how they eventually kill Scaramanga. So it's like that opening sequence really does factor into the climax of the film. So
exactly.
It's a damn good one. Big fan of it.
Let's move Goldfinger down.
Only if we move on Her Majesty's Secret Service down to D.
Are you saying on Her Majesty's Secret Service has nothing that links to the rest of the movie?
It's got so much that links.
It's got a lot that links in, like the fact that it's got the worst Bond, and then
and the most important female in the entire franchise in the opening sequence.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
That's not even the worst James Bond in the entire franchise. It's Die Another Day. My friends call me James Bond.
Yeah, but that one's got Mojito. Spy Love Me has the cabin girl, which is very it's really lame. Like, Just James, I need you. So does England, kind of thing. But you got a ski sequence that's pretty good, and then you've got the thing that anybody actually really remembers is he jumps off of the cliff, and which I don't know like how they pulled it off, but the one guy got the one camera shot out of the whole thing for them to be able to pull that parachute, and despite the fact that the parachute also had a hole in it, they're able to have this, triumphant ba-da-da-da-da-da that everybody just is one of the most iconic scenes from the whole series. That alone does not make it an S tier for me, though. I know a lot of people would probably say that is like the top of the top, but if I'm going to watch an opening sequence, it's not normally The Spy Who Loved Me. So I think that this is more maybe B for me. It's see a case for maybe an A, but I'd lean more towards B.
I'd probably go towards the B side of it as well, just because I think it's good, but this became the standard more opening sequence, which is either in bed or involved with some random woman who's only in there for the opening sequence. And to be fair, I'm a sucker for a good skiing scene.
The skiing scenes are great.
Yeah, so it was pretty good, but I feel like outside of that one parachute thing, it goes a little bit under the radar. The parachute thing really elevates it. That might be the thing that changes it from a B to an A, but my gut would say B at the moment.
I would say B. I would say B.
All right, so three Bs. Moonraker. Like that one a lot more. That one is Bond in the airplane. The Apollo Air hostess pulls a gun out on him. They have a couple jokes, and he's running his hands on her legs, and she says, "Any higher and my ears will pop." And we get this random dude with the mustache fighting with Bond. We get a reappearance of Jaws in the mix, which is cool. And they jump out of a friggin' airplane, and they have this whole free-falling sequence, which kicks ass. They pull it off after, I think it was something like 80 takes or whatever that it took them. Bond's able to get the parachute off of the other guy. Jaws accidentally pulls his chute in a way that it rips, falls on top of a circus thing, and they've got this it's a little silly joke about the drum roll and everything, but I think that that's a pretty damn good one.
Yeah,
I'd put it in B, but I like it.
Yeah, I think I think it's probably slightly better. I mean, I think they've both got positives and negatives compared to that and The Spy Who Loved Me. I mean, basically it's the same film, just in space. But it's like this one. I think the shot with the parachute is a better visual than the free falling on this one. But the inclusion of Jaws elevates this one because it's nice. Oh my god, this guy's back again, and he's still after Bond. So I'd say they're pretty much on par. So I'd probably go with B for this one as well.
Yeah.
Higher B than Spy Who Loved Me, but I think B works well for that. Now, Rob, For Your Eyes Only sucks.
It is so bad.
All right, but you gotta understand something. It's so entertaining to me to watch Blofeld beg for his life in a very comedic way, promises Bond a delicatessen in stainless steel. They're just shitting all over the character. It's just a masterful burial, complete with the, "Oh, you want to go down?" It drops him in, I don't even know what you would call it, but complete with the cartoon.
Like a smokestack.
I guess so. He drops him in the smokestack. You got the whistle blowing sound of the cartoon, Mr. Ball. It's just so bad it's good. This to me is the Diamonds Are Forever of openings, and you can take that any way you want. I know we see it as a lower film, but I think it's hilarious. I think this intro is one of the funniest ones. I know it's not going to be higher than an E. I'm all right with that, but it's still my number 2 because I have watched this opening sequence more times than anything else from this franchise because it pops me every time.
If you end the sequence 30 seconds into it, and it's Bond putting flowers on Tracy's grave, it's one of my favorites. The fact that it continues makes it one of the worst. I can't vote for anything higher than an E. Because he's not even technically supposed to be Blofeld, even though he's supposed to be, because they couldn't really do it, so he's man in a wheelchair. And it's just silly, and even the music, like when he catches Blofeld with off guard with like switching the controls around, it goes to that ba 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 da and the cat's all like shit, like that's a fucking cat, no, like oh man,
to keep his hair on, Tony. Blofeld is bald, so come on, it's great. It's good comedy. I think we should all appreciate it for what it is.
It's got to be a year and a half. Where you going, Callum?
Oh, it's an E, I'd say, because it's just objectively terrible, but it is fucking hilarious to watch. Really, it's when you take if you're like going into this just thinking like, okay, I'm just going to watch this because it's really entertaining and funny, but it's like you wouldn't catch this even in an Austin Powers movie. You would think this is a little much, right?
Right.
Like, as I say, it's a burial of the Blofeld character, which is fun, but like, I know we talk about this like in a wrestling capacity, just like leave that shit at the back, at the front door or something like that. Don't just go forward with it, because it just makes the whole franchise look bad because you're trying to insult one character or insult. It's letting internal politics influence your decision making.
Yeah, the whole point of it was just to be like, fuck you, we don't need Blofeld.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were making another Bond movie with Sean Connery in the States. And it's like, okay, so we'll do this in retaliation. It's like, you're not doing it for the right reasons. And it shows, because you do something which is, as Rob says, and I think rightly so, absolutely hilarious, but it weakens the entire foundations of the franchise to a degree. Because, yeah, Moore's Bond is silly, but this is parody.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, when he doesn't keep his hair on, like, it's clearly a mannequin. Like, the camera cuts here are just terrible, but it's so much fun. I'm glad I got the chance to talk about that, because Tony knows how much I love that scene.
Yeah, you have brought that up way more than any other opening sequence, that's for sure.
But it's an A, I'd say. Yeah, I wouldn't go for F, because like I still get more entertainment value out of that one than Diamonds Are Forever.
Definitely not something that can be highly regarded in any capacity, though.
Nope.
So, Octopussy, or as Kamal Khan says, Octopussy. That is the, hey, you're a Turo too. And Bond plants the bomb. He gets in his little personalized airplane after Bianca helps distract the guards in the car by just being like, hey, look, I'm a woman and I've got legs. And they're like, ooh. Well, that's more of Mr. Wynn. But, she is attractive for a woman. And
yeah,
it's not great, but it's interesting. I'd go C.
I hate this movie. E.
I really think that if you rewatch it again, that you're gonna like it a lot better. Not that you're gonna love it or anything, but I think you're gonna end up liking it more.
I'm gonna need to.
I like so much of this opening sequence because I've got my first note here written down. It's like, I saw Bond and my immediate reaction was, holy shit, he looks old. And this isn't even his last movie yet. But the idea about when he's surrounded by, he goes to the nose cone of the plane, puts a radar onto it, and he's surrounded by guards, and this guy called Toro, and he says, small world, you're a Toro too.
Yeah.
I just think that line's hilarious. The little teasing of Karina's legs and stuff like that, and just the idea of the like some great shots of the plane flying, not so great shots of Bond in the cockpit, the missile going through, just flying through the entire thing, and him coming out of an explosion, and then him pulling up at a gas station in the thing, and just like, fill her up, please.
And apparently people going nuts about that line, thinking that's the funniest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, it is just so. This is the right kind of Moore opening, where it is bizarre and it is like over the top and crazy, but it's I'd also say it's cool, but it's suave almost. Like it's his level of suaveness mixed with the right level of absurdity.
I do have to say that those I don't know if you call them guards or whatever, they were dumb. Like, oh my god, a lady.
Yeah.
But just like the idea of like him getting in a horse box and then emerging in a small, powerful plane.
Yeah.
Again, that is the level of absurdity to it. I think it's. I mean, I'd be okay with C. I think it's B, but I'm happy to put it in C.
I can settle on C.
View to a Kill is another ski sequence. That one includes some Beach Boys.
That's amazing.
California Girls is in that. You've got the whole, the surfing part that goes along with that. It's got one of my favorite background tracks, that action theme that goes throughout the movie. And it's Bond recovering the microchip from a dead MI6 agent, the dead 00. So it does work with the rest of the movie, which is good. Ski stuff is always good. Music's good. It's out of the joke. But the joke itself, it's memorable. I'd probably go C for that one.
I want to know why in '85, with all of the great music that was out there, they said California Girls for a sledding, for a skiing sequence. Like, what about this says Beach Boys? I don't know. It's still amazing. This is the kind of camp I've grown to love from more. So this is at least C.
I think it's definitely good, and there's a lot of good elements to it, but fucking California Girls.
Yeah,
it's just such a massive departure from the whole rest of the sequence, let alone the movie and the franchise in general. It's just like it really sticks out in mind. It's like saying let's go and go, what the fuck were they thinking?
Like, you have Duran Duran literally singing the theme song. You couldn't get something from Duran Duran?
Maybe they just sing California Girls.
So I'd say it would be up to like a B for me if it didn't have that thing, but for that reason, like that whole one bit is an F for me. Like that one California Girls thing is it's such a huge, like, jarring moment. It's like you're watching a completely different movie for a second. So I'd say drop it down to a C. I'd say.
All right, so that balances out to around a C. Huge fan of The Living Daylights. That intro is Bond having the training sequence with the other 00s. You've got 002 and 004. 004 gets killed. 002 gets the paintball. So we've got the smeared spionum set up for later on. This, of course, does set up most of the plot for a lot of these things. You get your fake out of, hey, Bond's dead, with two different guys that look like, one guy looks like Roger Moore and one guy looks a little bit like George Lazenby. So it's, two potential James Bond is dead moments with, technically speaking, you got the monkey jump scare. You got the cool action sequence of him running along and jumping on top of the car, which starts exploding and everything. Eventually the car gets off the cliff and explodes, and Bond parachutes down to Linda, who's doing the it's only playboys and tennis pros out here. I really need to find a real man. Bond immediately just goes, I need to use your phone. She'll call you back. Hangs up, and you got a good little joke of, she's like, won't you join me? After he says, 007 reporting, I'll report back in an hour. And then he's like, better make that 2. So it's just kind of like, Bond just watched 004 get killed, and he just killed another guy, and he's like,
I'm gonna make time for sex.
I'm gonna fuck her, though. I think it's got everything in it. That's an S tier one from my point of view.
Callum, what do you think? Because I can be swayed to go a little lower.
I think it's very, very good. I feel like you get a good introduction to Dalton coming out of after you have these 3 agents going down. You kind of feel like one way or the other which one of these people is going to be the real Bond. I feel like they could have exploited that more to make it feel like a little more of. Again, that's more just a case of like pre-production and stuff like that to make it seem like which one of these people is James Bond and kill them off one by one. It's got one of my favourite lines in the entire franchise, which is the "Here, hold on, you're dead."
Yeah,
And that's just that's a great line. But the thing is, the one thing for me is, and again, it's my slight bias against the Dalton franchise, but when he does do the stuff with Linda at the end, I just feel like that's the moment where I go, yeah, you're not Bond. Because I just feel like his conversation with her is like, he's so unsuave and he's so just to the point, really. And I just feel like, okay, you'd be good in like some sort of action movie, but you're just not James Bond. So I would say A.
I can live with A.
I can live with A too, because I
For
mean,
me, the next one is the one that I won't budge. That's S.
So we'll move this over to A tier. Now, License to Kill, I'd go S tier as well, because License to Kill starts off with the introduction that Felix is getting married. We've got the introduction of the Sharky character and the setup of Franz Sanchez, who not only immediately shows you that he's a real scumbag piece of shit, the way that he's whipping Lupe and he talks about that he's going to cut that guy's heart out, but you get the shootout. You've got Bond hooking up the airplane to the helicopter and going out of the way, and they parachute down into the wedding. Fantastic. Sets up the plot, introduces literally almost all of the main characters in one shot. Definitely S tier in my mind.
It fits the movie perfectly. It sets the stage. It's everything you could want from that opening. I wish Dalton had a more prominent role in the series because I feel like his two movies are outliers to the others, but this is the perfect opening sequence.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an improvement on the previous one. I thought the previous one was A, so this one's definitely got to be an S. The only thing that I don't like about this one is the fact that a fucking helicopter can't outrun a jet.
Hey, logic, stop it.
I know it had some level of absurdity, but it's not like it was a special helicopter or anything like that. It was just a regular helicopter against a regular jet.
It's one that Bond's in special.
Yeah. When that magic penis touches any surface count, it takes over.
It's touching the surface once he's dragging it on there.
His penis becomes the joystick in the plane.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
But yes, that's the one issue I have of it. But I think it flows into the actual story. It's an interesting one where the actual main villain gets captured straight away and then gets away, and it's pretty much the whole vendetta against Bond and Leiter is built up by the incident that takes place here. So yeah, it's definitely an S1. I'd go along with that.
I'd go S tier for GoldenEye as well, because GoldenEye has this impressive as hell legitimate bungee jumping sequence. It's got a good intro of Bond himself with a joke of, hanging upside down in the bathroom and beg your pardon, forgot to knock. You get your introduction to the main villain, 006. You've got the main introduction to Ourumov. You've got this gambit that you have play out for the whole rest of the movie. It's, of course, got its flaws with, like, how does he shoot him in the head or not shoot him in the head, and he shoots the other guy, and, that's whatever, but it's memorable as hell. If you play the video game, of course, 3 of the most fun levels are this. You've got the chase down the runway with the motorcycle, and he catches the airplane. Of course, that factors into the movie with setting the timers. And then it's just kind of, I don't know, it does everything for me.
It's an S tier for me. It's GoldenEye, for me, is still like the perfect Bond package. And I think this opening sequence is a big part of that.
Yeah, I can't really add anything on top of that to really describe how it goes. So I'm happy to put it in this one as well. It's definitely a great start to a movie.
Tomorrow Never Dies, I'm a big fan of. That one has the introduction of Charles Robinson, which is like not, the reason to be like going super crazy about it, but I like Robinson. But there's just a little bit of this like espionage kind of thing going on with, they're talking to Bond over the intercom, or intercom's not the right word, over the comms. And you got some code name kind of stuff with like, White Knight, White Rook, and whatever. The arms bizarre. Admiral Roebuck's like, bomb the damn place. Then, oh fuck, we shouldn't bomb the whole place because Bond realized that they've got these particular rockets that are there. So Bond takes over the whole thing. You get not only the shootout, but you get the dogfight temporarily with the ejector seat and some couple of quips here and there with, backseat driver, and you got some gadgets too. Bond's got the exploding lighter. I wouldn't necessarily say it has to be S tier. I'd go A tier though, at the lowest. I think this is just one of the best scenes in the movie itself.
I'd say A. I wouldn't go lower than A.
I'm happy to put it in there as well. I think that there's a few bits and pieces that I feel was a little bit bizarre, like the movement of the missiles through the mountains, and then him positioning his plane directly underneath another one, using the ejector seat to go into that. Again, it's a level of absurdity that I felt was like that you kind of started to lose when you get into the more modern ones. But yeah, it's definitely high up there, so I'd go an A as well.
Well, is that enough? Longest
It's
one.
Really
one of my
fucking long.
favorites.
Really fucking long.
Very long one. That one is everything from LaChase and the banking scene. You got Cigar Girl, the jumping out of the bank and doing that whole kind of bit, which was supposed to be the end of everything, and then they realized maybe that's not the strongest one. Now, if that would have been it wouldn't have been one of the higher ones. But you keep going, and you have like, I don't know, it's like something like 16 minutes or so for the sequence, because then you go into MI6, you have Bond talking to M, you meet Sir Robert King, so of course that sets up a big thing, especially when he blows the fuck up. And that leads to the boat chase through the Thames, and the boat chase is great. Bond falls down on the Millennium Dome. You get the introduction of the main theme popping out of that.
I will not accept any lower than an A. The more I think about it, the more I think from a pure enjoyment perspective, this one might be it for me. Like this whole The World's Not Enough might be the one that I just genuinely sat down and enjoyed the most.
Called that one, right?
I think that I gotta go A at least.
I'd go an A, if not an S, but I'd go A, probably more so.
Yeah, it has too much that's like really crucial to the overall plot of the movie. It's just the one thing that I have as I guess a bit of an issue with is the fucking driving of this boat across the street and stuff like that, which I feel is just, again, it's a level of unbelievable absurdity. And it was really, really long. But it is really, really good. So I think this is better than GoldenEye's one. So it has to be an S tier then.
I'm good with this.
I'd be go with an S too. So yeah, all right, we'll bump that up.
And that's how good Brosnan is.
Underrated in a lot of ways. Just because he ended up being in Die Another Day does not mean that. But the opening of Die Another Day is one of the best parts of the movie. If you kept that whole movie with Die Another Day, that movie's fucking great, because the hovercrafts, okay, it's believable. Hovercrafts flying over the or floating over the mines. You've got the funny thing with Colonel Moon beating the shit out of the punching bag, and it turns out that it's actually his therapist on the inside. It introduces the whole bit with Zhao and getting the diamonds in his face. I'm not a huge fan of the surfing sequence, but it's a thing. You got gadgets, you got quips.
And you have Bond being captured.
Yeah, which is an interesting way of doing about it. Instead of the whole fake out of Bond's killed, and you know that he's not killed, but he's legit captured for 14 months. I'd go A.
I'd go A at
Yeah, I'm
least.
happy with that.
Now, Casino Royale
S, and I won't have to set any lower than S.
has a very interesting introduction because it's breaking the formula. It's black and white. It's Bond's first and second kills. I wouldn't lean towards S, but I do think that it needs to be A because it's the type of thing that it's got. I think with some tweaks, it's an S for me, but fundamentally, just the way that it is, it's high up there.
It means too much to Bond to not be an S, and it's so well done that you can't I can't put it any lower.
That one moment where he says the second kill, when he's about to say the second kill was a lot easier, and then he just shoots him mid-sentence and sends him flying backwards, and
there's a gun barrel.
And he says, like, yes, considerably. And then you have the gun barrel thing as well, which I really like. I just think, I personally think this is the best one out of the entire series, so I won't settle for any less than this.
I'm biased for the idea that for years, I always thought about, oh, who's the first person that Bond ever killed? And I'm like, oh, that's it? That was a letdown for me.
I just think that's better for the Bond thing. It's like what it shouldn't be someone that special. It should just be the first kill. Your first kill should always be like a bit of a more of just like a struggle, or like you almost like just don't know what you're gonna do and how you're gonna act against just some random guy. It shouldn't be the first one. It should be the one that goes straight to the top.
Plus, I don't really like the gun barrel itself, so that's another. But
yeah, well,
you got 2 votes for S tier.
Yep. Rob?
Yeah, I said S. No, absolutely S. Like, you got to get over this thing with the gun barrel, Tony.
That's not the biggest part about it. It's it's certainly better than some of the other ones. That's for sure. That's why I said I was like, yeah, I'd go A at the very least. But I can see.
The next one then.
Now, Quantum of Solace.
D.
Just the fact that it doesn't do that fucking gun barrel alone makes me want to put it on F, because it's just like, man, there's no reason for that. There's just no reason.
D's fine. I think that there's too many camera cuts in the chase sequence. It's not particularly long, or I mean, I like the fact that it's a direct continuation on the Casino Royale, so that just demonstrates to you this is the start of a new sequence almost. But yeah, I just don't think it's particularly memorable. And Bond himself, Bond only says like a couple of things in the entire thing as well, which pretty much just him getting white out of the back of it, and it's not even a particularly good quip.
No, it's just it's time to get out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the most memorable thing about it is how jarring it is, because not only does it not have the gun barrel, and they sacrifice it for this scene, but that the editing is just absolutely atrocious. I kind of want to put it on F.
I'll settle for.
I'll settle for E.
Yeah, I'd settle for E. Yeah, can't go lower than that. It's not as bad as Diamonds Are Forever, so I can't.
Now, Skyfall
S
is very important to the plot. It is, for the recap for anybody, he comes across Ronson, and the list gets stolen. Eve shoots Bond off the train. I mean, it's pretty much an S, The downside to it being it doesn't have the gun barrel, but that's not enough to knock it off of that.
Yeah, I love it. I just think like the entire sequence of him chasing after Patrice and getting onto the train. It was a good sequence in there. Bond gets shot at. He actually gets shot, which is like an odd thing for him in the entire franchise. The shot that takes Bond off, the thing that Eve just puts down things like officer down, the way she says it, it's just, yeah, it's brilliant. It's again one of the best ones, so I think it has to be an S.
Not a big fan of the Spectre one. I should remove No Time to... Well, I'm not going to remove it. I'll keep it there, but obviously we're not going to play it because we haven't seen it yet. Spectre is one that I'm not as big on, but that one does have its cool moments to it. The gun barrel's back, which is great. They start off with something a little bit different with the the Dead or Alive and cuts over to that, Baron Samedi looking float. You got the tracking shot, which is pretty interesting, and the whole assassination of Marco Sciarra. The fight in the helicopter is interesting enough, but to me, it's not real high up. To me, this is kind of C tier.
I would put it in B just because I feel like the whole look of the thing in terms of him walking through the middle of the Day of the Dead stuff. And yes, I think the cinematography is really good. I feel like the fight in the helicopter is pretty good as well. Again, it's nothing that's like super memorable, but I feel like just if I was to watch it, I'd say, oh yeah, this is like shot really well, and I think it's put together really well. So I'd go. It's not going to be high on the good side, but I'd go B.
B.
Two Bs. Or not two Bs. So, any adjustments you guys think need to be moved?
I don't think so.
It's weird because it's just that most of them are just really good.
Yeah.
Again, it's weird because if we're kind of judging it on the Spectre things, we're judging them based against the other movies, right? Because we're kind of because we kind of put these are 12 that we've got in S and A tier, and just well, these are really, really great, so we can't really put them low. But in the context of the other movies, you kind of have to put some sort of scale against them.
I'm judging them as just the whole series. So, if I were to tell somebody, you don't know what a Bond film is about, let me show you something. If I showed them GoldenEye, I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. If I showed them For Your Eyes Only, I would think that they'd be like, this seems dumb. I know,
I completely get that side of it, but it just feels like, should we really have 12 right at the top end?
I mean, I would put On Her Majesty's Secret Service lower.
You see, that's funny because I'm actually thinking that should be in the Mount Rushmore.
Well, we'll get to that.
I cannot sign off on that being Mount Rushmore. Not at all. Just because it happens to have Tracy in it does not make it a Mount Rushmore thing for me.
It's also just good. It's one of the most consistent scenes. We'll get there. Finish your thought, Callum.
But it's just a case of I just feel like I can't give a reason why I would take any of these ones from either S tier or A tier and move them down per se. But if we're judging them against each other, then some must be better than others, and it almost feels like we've gone way too top heavy on this one. It should be more spread out than that.
I think if you need to move any of them, not only would I move On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because fundamentally, you can't tell me that fight sequence is as good as Tomorrow Never Dies shootout. But I could see
it's a different context. They've got a lot less to work with than Tomorrow Never Dies does.
I could see moving Goldfinger and On Her Majesty's Secret Service down to B.
I would, let me have a look. These ones. I would, from the S tier, if I was to limit it to a certain amount, I would drop both License to Kill and GoldenEye off. And I'd put them both in A. From the A tier, I'd probably drop, I'd say Goldfinger. I might settle for the On Her Majesty's Secret Service and put that one to B. Die Another Day, I might move on to B as well. Then I'd probably move both The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker into C. Maybe even Spectre as well. And drop a couple from C down to D, keep the E's and keep the F's the same.
I could see, I'm not going to move anything, but I could see, for instance, I'll put these in red. I could see this maybe being some of the things to move around. I could see maybe You Only Live Twice. I could see that being shifted.
Yeah, if we're going on my own colours and stuff like that, I could not that one to get the master list. And so I would go with these two down, these three down, Actually, I'd move all three of those down, and then probably this one and Live and Let Die as well. Probably I'd put down into D. That'd be the only things. That would be the things that I'd change, just based on the context of everything. But we're probably not going to move them, but that's fine.
I think the only sorting we need to do would be the Mount Rushmore, because we have a lot, and it is very top heavy, but they're also just good scenes, you know.
Sure, if we like them, we like them.
Yeah, no. It's not a case of like slugging them. So I'm okay with it being top heavy because they have some really good opening sequences throughout the entire thing. I just feel like we're not comparing them against like the openings of other movies and saying that like that's bad. But we're judging them against each other. So realistically, they shouldn't all be at the top end. We should be able to make some differences about which ones are the very best. But I guess that's kind of what we're going to do with the Mount Rushmore.
So, oops, here I am bouncing this around. Shouldn't do that.
So I'll just state my 4, and you guys can work around it. I think License, GoldenEye, Skyfall, and Casino.
See, well, I've already stated my case for the fact that I don't think License to Kill and Casino Royale are as good as the other 4 in that list. So,
these are 4 you were suggesting, Rob?
Yeah.
Just to be able to balance these out and see which ones are who for who kind of thing.
Okay then. Casino Royale, Casino Royale, Skyfall, Man with Gun, and The World Is Not Enough.
I
would go.
So this is where you got to throw a spanner in the works. You're going to put From Russia in Love in there as well.
No, see, I don't think that From Russia with Love necessarily goes in there. So,
I mean, you wouldn't put Casino Royale in there, would you?
No, see, I probably would.
Oh, you would? I mean, necessarily, we've discussed this in the past with other stuff we've done. The Mount Rushmore doesn't necessarily mean the 4 best.
Right, yeah, that's where I'm getting at. Because for me, here's what I want in a Bond opening. I want it, ideally, to tie into the story.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to include a snippet of everything that you would get in a Bond film. So it's got, ideally, a quip of some kind. It's got some sort of trademark action sequence of some kind where it's like a memorable thing, not just like I don't know, like for instance, again, I'm going to crap on it, but like on Her Majesty's Secret Service, to me, like that action sequence, there's nothing memorable about it compared to something like Moonraker, even, because they jump out of the airplane. You've got the idea of setting up something with Bond that's a little bit of a tease of some sort. So like whether you do the, oh my god, they might have just killed James Bond or something like that along those lines. So that's where I'd go License to Kill and GoldenEye on mine, because they set up the plot, they set up a lot of the characters. They've got, License has the airplane thing and the parachuting into the wedding. GoldenEye's got the jump from the motorcycle into there. Casino Royale, I mean, there's 2 votes already for Casino Royale, and I think that makes a lot of sense to go on there. It's not as memorable in the sense of, like, a crazy stunt, but it doesn't need a crazy stunt because it's Bond's first 2 kills. And the, shooting the guy and saying considerably, it's not a stunt, but it's memorable as hell. And I think if I were going to bump off one of them, I mean, there are 2 votes for Skyfall, so it kind of would make sense if Skyfall was the other one anyway. If I were going to try to bump one of them off, it would be Skyfall. And if it was the case, I'd probably make the argument that maybe something like From Russia with Love could get in there, but I think that Skyfall might be an overall more important thing anyway. So if you got 2 votes for Skyfall, then I could co-sign that.
Mm. It is interesting he talk about that because, like, for me, I mean, I think the most important one out of the 4 is Casino's one, just because it's the only one that really delves into the backstory of Bond almost, or at least like the origins of him. So I kind of feel like that's an important one for Mount Rushmore. But then when I look at what I think is the second best or the second most important one, it's the Man with the Golden Guns one, just because it sets up his counterparts better than any other movie does, I feel.
I'd be cool with putting that over Skyfall.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with knocking Skyfall off like the main one. I'd still go with that one because I just feel like it's really good. But I would go with the Man Gold Gun over that. But but as I've said, I would knock off one of License to Kill or GoldenEye before I would do that. So, but I know you guys really like those ones. I just don't feel like.
I think if I had to, I could knock off the Dalton. As good as it is still Dalton, and I don't know if.
Because I almost feel like, if I was to go with that one, I would say that License to Kill isn't a Bond intro; it's a lighter intro. Because Felix is the one who's kind of the star of that sequence, not Bond.
Well, Bond takes over the whole thing. He's the one that, you're not allowed to come here, and he goes anyway, and he's the one that ropes in Sanchez, and he's not even a part of the whole mission to begin with.
I mean, yeah, again, that's true, but like, I mean, the whole thing is built around Leiter's wedding and him getting to that event and him trying to hit. Sanchez has been the guy that he's been after. I know Bond obviously gets involved in that sort of thing, but he's basically Leiter's friends there to help almost, rather than. And I know he's the one that ropes it in and stuff like that, but it just feels like, and also it's my perspective from the movie in particular and stuff like that, that he has so much more personality and character than Dalton does as an actor. He kind of overwhelms the scene more than Bond does. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult thing to come to a conclusion to. I mean, if you two both think it's going to be on there, it's going to be on there. Just whether we put Skyfall, the Man with the Golden Gun, in the 4th one. I just don't feel strongly enough about either of them. I feel stronger about GoldenEye than I do for License, but.
Well, definitely at the very least, GoldenEye and Casino Royale, totally locked.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's LTK, Skyfall, and Man with the Golden Gun. I think I like Man with the Golden Gun more than Skyfall with the intro. And I think that there's more of a case for the Man with the Golden Gun to set up multiple characters and to set up the end climax kind of situation. But then Skyfall literally propels the plot. So it's kind of like, if I judge the action between the two, Skyfall is better action than what happens in Man with the Golden Gun, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the most action-packed thing in the world, because what little they do in the Man with the Golden Gun keeps your attention.
I just think it's very different to the other ones as well, because all the other ones are built a bit more around, obviously Bond's heavily involved in this one. They use that's why I wanted to put it on Mount Rushmore, because it's one of the most different Bond openings, and they decide to devote it all into building up the backstory and characteristics of the main villain, which is something that not many of the other ones really do too much. Maybe to a degree more of License to Kill, obviously, because they do show Sanchez doing the attacking his woman's suitor. So we do get a sense of like how vindictive and evil he is, but it's definitely not explored as much as it is with the Man with the Golden Gun. So I feel like the Man with the Golden Gun is pretty unique in that regards.
Yeah, I'd be all right bumping License.
Yeah, I mean, if it was my choice, License would be the one that would be bumped as well. So I would go Man with the Golden Guns and Skyfall.
So they kind of depends on you, Rob. Do we have License and Skyfall, License and Man with the Golden Gun, or Man with the Golden Gun and Skyfall?
Man with the Golden Gun and Skyfall, I think, are the ways to go here.
All right, well then that's the math behind that. Let's remove those, and then there you go. There's your Mount Rushmore of opening sequences, at least before No Time to Die comes out, because maybe No Time to Die is fucking amazing.
Right, maybe it's just like, you know what, this redefines the standard.
Right. It might be so good that S tier gets blown out of the water and we have to create another tier on top of that or something. I don't know. We just shift everything. But that is our tier list. That's our Mount Rushmore for the opening sequences. As we've been doing with all of these, we want to know what you have to say, whether you think we should put things in a different spot or, make an argument for one thing or another. Then let us know. Check back all the other ones if you haven't seen them already, because we've got some other tier lists that we've done and that are coming up in the pipeline as well. And that's kind of it for this episode, other than just plugs. So keep following everything on fanboysanonymous.com. Keep staying tuned to A Review to a Kill and From Recap with Love. Follow pro wrestling stuff over on Smart Out Moment. I don't really need to get into that though, because it's a completely different thing. But if you are interested in it, check that out. Check me out at Tony Mango, spelled out the way that I am typing that up on the screen right now. And check out what these guys have going on as well. You can follow Callum over at Wigmeister14.
Yep, follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out, as Tony said, all the stuff on Small Cat Moment on the wrestling side of things, all the weekly articles, including the Power Rankings, which is my weekly contribution. And yeah, check out all the stuff on the Small Cat Moment, like YouTube or podcast feeds. Check out all the Smack Talk stuff. If you're interested in pro wrestling, that's the perfect resource for you, along with what Rob's got going on.
Yeah, because I would argue that if you're interested in wrestling, I'm probably the one you're seeing the most. Check out Fightful.com, Fightful Select. Sean Ross Sapp is breaking news constantly. He broke a ton of news over Money in the Bank weekend. He's going to break more news heading into SummerSlam weekend. He's been at events. He will continue going to events as live touring resumes, and it's very exciting. As for me personally, follow me everywhere at DudeFelice. Keep following, keep checking to see when new updates are had for certain things. And yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody, we've got more coming your way, so stay tuned for what's happening next. Depending on how we record these and what order we do these, it's probably either going to be the theme songs or the gadgets, which the gadgets one's going to follow a little bit of a different pattern. Theme songs will be pretty much exactly the same as what we've been doing, but whatever fashion it is, and maybe you're watching these out of order too, I don't know. But whatever it is, go ahead and click on that next one, and we will see you there. But for now, it's time for us to geek out.